No.
All right, we'll call the January 26, 2026 regular meeting of Peters Township Council to order. Mr. Lauer, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Waldinger?
Here.
Mr. Steiger?
I'm here.
Mr. Curry?
Here.
Mr. Kozer?
Here.
Ms. Shanafelt?
Here.
Mr. Lewis?
Here.
Mr. Vincent?
Here.
Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item on the agenda is the approval of the transcript of the public hearing held on November 24th, 2025.
So moved. Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. 7-0, Mr. Lauer. Next item is approval of the minutes of the council meeting of December 22nd, 2025.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. 7-0, Mr. Lauer. Next item, approval of the minutes of the council meeting of January 5th, 2026.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. 7-0, Mr. Lauer. No.
Mr. Kozer, I know it's not on the agenda, but under special reports, I've invited Jared and Chief McLaughlin to come in to speak about the efforts with regard to the snow event this weekend. So if you will permit.
Come on up, guys.
And thank you.
Yep.
No question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Your show, pal.
All right. Thank you. So you all have the report in front of you. Starting with Friday, we had a meeting with Kyle, Fire Chief McLaughlin, Police Chief Glover, myself, one of our foremen, Captain Brunetti, and Captain Emery, and Fire Captain Barton were in attendance. We talked about the timing and the magnitude of the storm and decided on declaring a snow emergency. The one thing that does allow us to do, if I'm correct, Mike, Chief, is no parking on the streets, which gives our operators a lot better chance of getting the roads cleaned in a better time.
So when that snow emergency was called, one of the things that was used was the PT Alert Me system for notifying residents. And what you see there were email notifications to over 3,600, there were text messages to 1,100, and there were phone messages to over 1,200. And, you know, one of the things this morning in our department head meeting that Chief Glover had commented on, that in only 2 cases were they actually chasing cars off the streets that could have been parked in driveways. So from that perspective, I think that this worked well.
And PT Alert Me was the system that Kyle last year council invested in, is the mass notification system that people can sign up for via text message, via voice call, but also has the ability in severe emergencies, life and death, to make a reverse 911 call to a geographical area. In this case, that wasn't warranted. We didn't have an immediate danger to life and death, but if there were an instance like an active shooter or a major gas line break that's gonna cause people to evacuate homes, that's what that's used for.
I have to remember correctly, when I tried to log into PT, you're gonna need to give directions again, because I don't think I ever successfully accomplished that task.
We'll make sure that happens.
I don't think I'm alone, so.
No, you're not. You're not alone. Yeah.
I'm not going to read this word for word, but on Saturday, I made the decision to let all of our employees know at around noon, 2 o'clock, somewhere in there, that to report to work starting at 1 a.m. Saturday, so I could get them all in here and ahead of the storm, so they weren't driving in the weather and having trouble getting them here. At that time, they were here from 1 a.m. on Sunday to 8 p.m. on Sunday. At that time, I sent them all home and told them to be back at 3 a.m. As of this morning, they were here at 3 a.m. and were here until 3:30 p.m., in which they went home. There were 13 operators on all 13 routes. Our mechanic loads the trucks. Myself and the road foreman were both in a truck plowing, whether that be intersections, parking lots, anywhere needed. with listening to the emergency calls that respond for police and fire calls. Last thing, the entire crew did an amazing job together, communicated well, and just for those of you that don't know, we have a handful of drivers that have never done it before this year, so that storm was a tough test for all of them. They did well, exceeded expectation, in a task that's not easy for even experienced operators. With that being said, there were no accidents or injuries to report.
And from an emergency management perspective, getting together in advance when we have what we'll call a planned event like this storm was going to happen. When we sent the email to council, we're not breaking any news to anybody, but we're letting you know how we plan and how we get ahead of this to try to manage their time, how to properly prepare our equipment, and more importantly, how to notify the public. And in this case, I want to thank the public because they're listening and they're minimizing their travel, made emergency response a lot easier. That's all I have, Jerry.
That's all I have. Any questions?
What reaction do we get from the business areas relative to, did anybody object to
To the snow emergency.
emergency? And then I saw
No.
a few stores that were closing early.
I think a lot of them did that on their own in anticipation of not having employees being able to travel to work. Mr. Lauer and I were talking a little bit on Sunday, and he's like, hey, make sure everybody eats, but I don't know where they're going to eat. So we had made plans and we had bought non-perishables to keep in the stations so that, because they can't go out and get food, to have it there for them. So proper preparations were taken, but most of the businesses stayed closed, and honestly, that helps. It really does.
Did we have any fire calls in the midst of?
Yes,
Sunday?
we had a couple. We had a couple medicals along with EMS, and a couple random calls for service.
So did we get a plow out in front of the trucks? Or?
When needed, yes, and we actually have, fire department has a plow on one of our trucks up at Station 1 that was able to go with the larger truck if they were needed. If not, we kept it to the smaller vehicles so that we weren't putting the big sleds on the road.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.
All
Yes,
the
thank you very
guys.
much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, next we'll move into audience comments. This is the part of the meeting where any member of the audience can speak for up to 5 minutes on a non-agenda item. I see Mr. Brown's already working his way up to the podium.
I need your call on this. I see agenda number 9, and I was probably inarticulate in what I wanted to discuss. It's much broader than just the Sunday construction. It's overall ordinance and the process. Can we discuss that under 9, or would you like to discuss it now?
We'll discuss it under 9, since it's
Okay.
already on the...
As long as I'm not limited to Sunday work.
understood.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the audience wish to speak on a non-agenda item? Seeing no one, we will move on to unfinished business, which is the authorization for the appropriate township official to execute a contract designating the Peters Township Emergency Medical Services Provider.
So, one of the things that I informed council about is that the ambulance service, the VFW ambulance service, has, as required by law, provided us notice of their intent to terminate emergency medical services in Peters Township. And that will be effective April 20th, 2026. I've spoken with both representatives from Ambulance and Chair and Canonsburg Ambulance concerning this notice. Both services believe that they'll be able to provide service to the township by that date if council makes a decision on this matter tonight. On December 8th, council directed that I negotiate contracts for emergency medical service with both Ambulance and Chair and AHN Canonsburg Ambulance, utilizing a contract framework provided by Fitch and Association and in consultation with Mr. Smith. I drafted a contract that was presented to both Ambulance and Chair and AHN Canonsburg Service. They were asked to review the contract and propose changes. The edited versions of those contracts were reviewed with the township in separate in-person meetings. Based upon this discussion, Ambulance and Chair and AHN Canonsburg Ambulance were given the opportunity to make further revisions. The final revised contracts were included in your docket. For the most part, those there are not significant differences between the two, but in two areas I believe there are significant differences, and they relate to first with staffing levels. So what ambulance and chair has said is that for the first initial 6 months of the term, they will provide 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, two ALS ambulances, each staffed with certified emergency medical providers, one of which would be a paramedic. The AHN Canonsburg does not have that review period, but rather commits to providing 2 ambulances 7 days a week for the length of the contract. The thing that and I talked to Mr. Smith about this, that concerns me is that if you look at the full language in the ambulance and chair proposal, the basis upon which the review is to be done is what in fact is determined to be reasonable in terms of staffing going forward after the initial 6 months, based upon historical volumes and acuity levels during that 6 month period. Where there is a commitment to meet with the township to have that discussion, both Mr. Smith and I are concerned that who gets to determine what's reasonable. And if in fact there's a dispute about that, what we both believe is that the township's going to be at a disadvantage because you've got a major medical provider determining what's reasonable as opposed to the township determining what's reasonable. So if in fact that gets contested and litigated, I think we're going to be at a disadvantage in that regard. The other thing is when 2 ambulances, and this will happen, when 2 ambulances are both in service, the question then becomes, what do you do in terms of being able to have an ambulance available to service the community? And what ambulance and chair suggests is that they'll strive to post an ambulance at one of the locations. The difference in the language with AHN Canonsburg is that they shall post an ambulance at a location of Fire Station 1, 3, or 300 Municipal Drive. So for those reasons, it's my recommendation that council award a contract to AHN Canonsburg Ambulance. In addition, one of the things that I did was to reach out to the firefighters, because the firefighters have a group of paramedics that work directly with the ambulance service, to ask for their insights as to what would be the most appropriate ambulance service for the township. And the firefighters recommend designating AHN Canonsburg as the emergency medical service provider for the township. I believe, as I stated before in December, that the transition to AHN Canonsburg Ambulance would prove to be smoother. There is a good working relationship between Canonsburg Ambulance and then the township's fire department, as well as with the VFW. And both AHN and the fire department receive their medical command through the Canonsburg Hospital. The other thing is that there is not a good working relationship with the current VFW ambulance service and ambulance and chairs, and I do believe that one way to avoid a disruption of service is to appoint Canonsburg Ambulance. Just as an aside, because I knew this was a concern for council, or at least some members of council, HN has agreed to modify the striping of their vehicles stationed in Peters Township, removing the designation of Canonsburg on that stripe that goes across their ambulances. In addition, both ambulance and chair and Canonsburg Ambulance have agreed to reimburse the township for actual costs when firefighter paramedics are required to transport as a result of staffing shortages. That's an arrangement we don't have with the VFW right now, but the idea behind that language being incorporated into the contract was to encourage whoever the provider is to make sure that they have adequate staffing so that paramedics are not leaving town in transport. And that's not to say that that will never happen, because as the chief will tell you, there are occasions when another set of hands are needed. And what's most important from our perspective is the patient care. And if that means having a firefighter, paramedic be involved in the transport, that will be something we'll continue to do, so.
How do we currently staff? I know we've gone this before. What's the current configuration of staffing?
Current staffing are 2 ambulances, Monday through Friday during daylight hours, 1 ambulance overnight.
So
one ambulance
both of these contracts in the initials part
would be more.
would be
More.
2 ambulance, there'd be
Yes,
more.
and then on Saturdays and Sundays right now, you are 1 ambulance, 24 hours a day. That was one of the things that came out of the Fitch study, was that they believed that the calls for service warranted 2 ambulances over
Oh,
daylight hours.
okay, that's
on
where
the
we
weekends.
got that from,
Yeah.
that minimum?
Yeah.
Okay. I couldn't remember.
I still have the same, same concerns that I had a month or so ago, particularly the fact that Cannonsburg continues to lose coverage area while ambulance and chair is picking it up. I still haven't heard an explanation for that. So on its face, it seems like to me that we're picking up scraps that other townships have cast aside.
I don't think that those who actually work with the ambulance service would agree with that characterization.
We're talking about the fire department?
Well, I'm talking about the fire department, I'm talking about the VFW ambulance service itself. I think both the paramedics within the fire department as well as the fire chief.
But I would say as far as the firefighters go, we know that the VFW doesn't call ambulance and chair as a backup. So obviously our firefighters wouldn't have the opportunity to work with them as much as they do Cannonsburg.
And I'd ask the chief to address that because I can't.
To that point, Mr. Stauger, you're right. I mean, inside the township, it's not often that ambulance and chair gets called. Sometimes when they do get called, it's because the fire department knows that they have a truck that might be closer or staffed at North Germain's initial fire station, and we need help now, or we need a transport unit now. I don't know that they were specifically speaking to care levels. I know some of our firefighters know employees of ambulance and chair, know some of the stuff that's going around, as well as Cannonsburg too.
And some of your firefighters actually work for ambulance and chair.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
And to speak to your concern about losing coverage and gaining areas, I think EMS in this area is a very competitive business. And I hate to say that it's a business, but it's a business. And we've seen ambulance and chair pick up territory. We've also seen Cannonsburg ambulance pick up territory as well. Most importantly, Donegal Township, who has nobody else around them. And AHN was able to deliver something that other ambulance services in the area couldn't, and help support a community of 5,000 some odd residents that now they have an ambulance in their town 24/7, 365, and have committed to a similar level of posting an ambulance in that territory. Whereas you're right, ambulance and chairs picked up an entire county in Greene County. So I think you're seeing the growth of these 2 ambulance services little by little, as smaller ambulance services either merge with them or will eventually discontinue service.
So I have a general question. This might be for Mr. Smith. What is the performance implication of strive versus shall? How do they meet strive and how do they fail to meet strive?
Well, I mean, we litigate these words all the time. So shall is mandatory. Strive is we're going to give it our best effort. I mean, that's probably as best I could interpret it. And, that's, at least in the language here, the difference. Yeah, the other difference that I looked at was, which was not policy-based in terms of who was better, but
what I thought was the township in the report requiring, 2 ambulances, and them saying, let's revisit this in 6 months, didn't seem like that was a proper window of time in my mind to be able to then knock it back down to 1 or dissipate the service that we thought we were going to lock in. Those are 2 issues that I had with the language and with that 6-month window. What if we just had a healthy 6 months and all of a sudden it goes to hell and we're down to just, 1 ambulance, so.
And I'm sure there's peak times where the ambulance service might have, whether it be summertime when kids are home, calls go up, calls go down in a 6-month window. A steady period of a year, might be more efficient in that. When we set up here a month ago, looking at 2 proposals, one was revised and I had not seen the entirety of it. Honestly, one of the things that I have an advantage to now is learning a ton through this process and actually sitting down in these meetings and seeing these contracts as somebody that doesn't read contracts all the time. So I really feel for Mr. Koser and Mr. Arcuri. But
Yeah, but we get paid to review.
these differences in shall, in strive, and just how one word makes such a monumental difference in what's going to be delivered. How we took the proposals that were here and council challenged us to say, get signature ready contracts to come back because there will be differences. You were right. You were right. When we heard both of the proposals, it's like, man, it's flip a coin. Both sound amazing. But when you look at the 2 contracts now between the 2, massive differences.
And you could also see potentially the conservative nature of an attorney saying, boy, if I put shall in there, we're going to expose ourselves to liability as soon as we don't perform one time. So I don't read strive as that necessarily they're not going to do their best. I just think it's probably an attorney saying, we're not going to lock ourselves into that mandatory, we're going to service that area. But, take it for what you, I don't know either party, and I can't weigh in on their history. It wasn't my.
There were other buzzwords in there too that I had learned of commercially reasonable measures and things of that nature that it's like, okay, what is a commercial reasonable?
Commercially reasonable.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and that's what I talked to.
That's $50 right there.
And then you get it explained to and you say, okay, well, these are important as they play out throughout the entirety of the contract and where they read in paragraph 1 as compared to, page 25, paragraph 5. The big differences.
And Chief, that's the concern that I had when Paul and I spoke, because, always, hopefully we don't get there, but anticipating I'm going to be in court someday with an elected council and staff and experts in ambulance saying what's commercially reasonable. And I thought we'd be at a disadvantage of explaining to a judge who knew better and what that meant. So we just didn't want the word altogether, or the language altogether. That.
Now, Mr. McMurray, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but when we had this issue come up last month, 2 of our members weren't here. They weren't on council yet. So would you mind coming up and explaining your opinion on this, please? Given that this has essentially been you and Mrs. McMurray's business for the last 40 years, as long as I can remember.
Sure. I did not come prepared to speak.
I
But I'll
understand.
be glad
Didn't mean to
do
put
it.
you on the spot.
Yes. My recommendation the last time was to go in-house, and I still believe that would have been the best for a long range for the township. You have a turnkey operation. It was decided not to do that. As far as working with Cannonsburg and Hamilton Chair, for the best service, I think will be for Peters going forward will be Allegheny General, AHN. Reason being is that the reason we didn't use A&C backtracking for years is they were never able to confirm where they were going to be. They were supposed to be on Route 19 at that base, and multiple times they were not there. They were there's 2 bases in North Strabane, one on 519 and one on 19. And one's closer than the other, and a lot of times they would be gone. Sometimes there wasn't going to be a paramedic there. We've heard varying stories about how many paramedics they do have to cover the entire county. One way or another, it's understaffed. They have lost a lot of area around Burgestown, Smith Township, Avella, down around that way, and they picked up Greene County. The Allegheny General has picked up, as the chief said, Donegal, which was a major thing to do that. Going back to what we have providing after the Fitch report, we've strived to keep 2 ALS trucks, 2 paramedics, If we couldn't, we had a BLS truck. Once in a while, we did not have that, yes, but for the most of the time, we have been providing 2 paramedics, not an AEMT, which is a big difference. And there will be a concern how many times the fire department may have to provide a paramedic on that. And AHN has said they can handle that, and I would believe they would do that. Ambulance and sheriff, with some of the history that has come down, which I won't go into now, they have not been completely credible in what they've said they were going to do, as recently as with the an area that's been close to Peters. They said they were going to do stuff, they did not follow through on it again. So to try and wrap it up, to go back to the recommendation that I would like to present would be for you to consider appointing Allegheny General. I think they will do a fine job. They've committed to putting people here, buying the equipment, putting trucks in the base, whereas they're not going to waffle out of it in 6 months.
It's like 90 days. Mr. McMurray, maybe you can answer for me.
Yes.
Why did Cannonsburg lose Chartiers while ambulance and sheriff picked up Chartiers?
I can't answer that. You have people here that could answer that, but
Okay.
not to put.
Yeah,
them
because I
on
mean,
the spot.
it just seems like we're overemphasizing the little areas that Cannonsburg's picked up and not really acknowledging the fact that over the past decade or so, Cannonsburg's lost North Strabane, Chartiers, Cecil.
No, they're still in Chartiers. They're in Chartiers.
Okay, so you got it back. You lost it for a while.
No. Chartiers is split. AHN provides coverage in half the municipality and ambulance and chair in the other half. And one of the things, talking to the manager of Chartiers Township, Ms. Noble comments about the fact that how well both of those organizations work together in Chartiers Township to provide service, so.
Thank you, Mr. McMurray. You did a great job.
Ad-libbing.
Ad-libbing.
Okay. Well, we thank the council over the years for all the support you've all given to us, too.
And we thank you.
And
and
thank
Mr.
you for
McMurray
your years of
everything you guys
service.
have done. Is there anyone from the audience who wishes to speak on this?
Just how long are the contracts? Are they the same?
5 years.
I think it's 5 years. Is it 5 years?
5
But
years.
if you look, we do have an escape hatch in
Yeah.
with proper notice. I don't even think it's for cause, if I recall.
No.
Yeah,
They also,
Yes.
they do. But
Is there anyone from the audience who wishes, coming up, Mrs. McMurray?
I too am not prepared, but I would like to address a couple of Mr. Steigel's comments in relationship to why A&C has picked up territory. And speaking from personal experience, we had covered Nottingham since 1963. And then one day, 3 people from ambulance and chair went into the township manager at Nottingham, sold him a bill of goods, never gave us the opportunity to defend ourselves or present our side of what they were saying, because everything they said that they were going to do, they didn't do, and it was exactly what we already do. And from personal experience in the office where I work, we have had multiple calls from North Strabane and from Nottingham, from residents that have said, please don't let council award the contract to A&C because the people of Peters Township deserve better. I've had people stop me at church and at the store and call me and say, what can they do? And in the office staff, we've told them to look up who their council member was and call them. I don't know if any of them did, because they probably didn't. But this is my personal experience, and I've worked with both of these services for well over 30 years. And Cannonsburg is a reputable service, and they will do what they say they are going to do. Where I've also dealt with the heads of A&C and the people that work for A&C, and that's the opposite.
But have you worked with the current leadership since their
Yes,
acquisition?
yes, and yes. And they have admitted to me that they can't handle it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you.
Thanks.
Anybody else from the audience wish to speak? Anyone from council wish to make any comments?
Well, I certainly feel as if I'm uncomfortable with the transition. I would love to be able to offer the concept of an in-house service, but it is just, given the circumstances of the departure, the cost of the facility that we would have to purchase and the equipment, it's just not a feasible option. The situation that I'm taking this step forward in my own mind is to improve, the opportunity to improve the service to this community. And that's the most important thing. I know, Mrs. McMurray, you were critical of me the last time I spoke relative to explaining that in the few times that I've made or had the need for ambulance service, Peters was busy and somebody else came. And that mutual aid is exactly the umbrella that I am trying to embrace. I would like to move that we consider a contract and authorize, it's negotiated with AHN Cannonsburg Ambulance.
Well, I think at this point, the negotiations are over, right? So
It's
this is
award a
actually a motion
contract.
to award the contract.
So moved. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, Mr. Lauer.
Ms. Shenafelt,
Yes.
Mr. Arcuri,
Yes.
Mr. Lewis,
Yes?
Mr. Steigel,
No.
Mr. Benisi,
Yes.
Mr. Waldinger,
Yes.
Mr. Kozer.
Aye. Passes 6-1.
And we want to thank everybody that's contributed a significant amount of time into getting this far down and having, rolled up the sleeves. I think what Paul has accomplished with each of you has been very enlightening to me. Thank you.
And even though Mr. and Mrs. McMurray already have a pavilion named after them, we will thank you again for your service all these years in running the ambulance service. All right, next on the agenda, we move into new business, and the first thing is a consent agenda. Tonight's council meeting includes a consent agenda containing 8 items. These 8 items can be approved in one action rather than filing motions on each item separately. The purpose of the consent agenda is to move routine items along quickly so the council has more time for issues that are important or that may require discussion. On this evening's consent agenda, the items are 1, resolution changing authorized signers on bank accounts held at Washington Financial. 2, resolution changing authorized signers on bank accounts at CFS Bank. 3, resolution changing authorized signers on bank accounts at Univest. 4, acceptance of the 2025 Survey of Financial Condition. 5, exoneration of Tracy Eakin and Jordan Tax Service from their obligation to collect 2025 Peters Township property tax. 6, special permit for St. Benedict's Church authorizing trail banners and off-premises temporary signs for their fish fry. 7, acceptance of the resignation of Drew Rossi from the Peters Township Environmental Quality Board. 8, authorization of the appropriate township officials to execute a grant agreement with the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania to offset the cost of replacing traffic signals on Route 19. Are there any of these items that any council member wishes to have removed from the consent agenda and discussed separately?
No.
Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. 7-0, Mr. Lauer. Next item is award of a contract for the various insurance policies, including automobile, fire, and liability for 2026.
So every 3 years, Peters Township bids various insurance policies, including automobile, fire, and liability coverages. Directing this process was Crane, Langer and Company. They're risk and insurance management consultants. Their intention was to be here tonight. They come from Ohio and could not make it because of the weather. But the thing that you need to understand is that our insurance policies run out on January 31st, so action is needed on this tonight. The way the process works is that they solicit agents to participate in the bidding process. 8 agents expressed an interest in participating. They represented 32 different insurance markets. In the end, there were 3 agencies that actually submitted bids. The Campbell Insurance Agency, IBC, which is part of the Delaware Valley Trust, and Hub. It's Crane and Langer's recommendation that Peters Township select a proposal submitted by Campbell Insurance Agency, underwritten primarily by the PMA companies. The proposed insurance is effective from February 1st, 2026 to 27. The township has an appropriation of $320,000 for insurance coverage. The total projected annual cost to the township under these proposals is $296,212. So one of the things that I put on your desk is this chart, which provides not only a comparison of the cost of the various insurance coverages based upon the nature of the coverage, but it also provides a very good way to envision what the nature of the coverages are and how the policies relate to each other. The other thing is what is there. Our current policy is coverages cost $276,572. Campbell Insurance is a 7% increase over that from last year. A large part of that has to do with automobile coverage. So it's at $296,212, and then you can see Delaware Valley Trust was at $404,000, and MRM was at $333,000. So it's my recommendation that council accept the proposal submitted by Campbell Insurance Agency for various policies, including fire, ambulance, fire, automobile, and liability coverage, and that we bind that insurance immediately.
This is for 1 year.
Yes.
Is it possible to quote these for more than 1 year? Like I have a commercial policy, and they give it to me for 3 years, it's a set price, there's no increases.
In the past, it was able to do that. They actually looked at that possibility, but given the nature of what's happening in the insurance industry now, they could not get anything beyond a 1 year policy for Peters Township.
Okay.
Excuse me if I missed it. Are they all apples to apples? Are all the coverages
Yes.
the same? All the exclusions, all the exemptions,
Yes.
everything's exactly the same?
Yes.
I'll make a recommendation that we accept a proposal submitted by Campbell Insurance Agency for the various insurance policies, including automobile, fire, and liability coverages for 2026.
I'll second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion?
Just that Campbell has served this community
For a number
for
of
decades,
years.
I think.
Yeah.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. 7-0, Mr. Lauer. Next, appointment to the Peters Township Sanitary Authority Board.
I'm going to move to appoint Mr. Harry Dietzer to that position.
I'll second. Motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. 7-0, Mr. Lauer. Next, appointment of members of the Peters Township Zoning Hearing Board. We have a full vacancy and an alternate vacancy.
Yeah, do we need to do this under a separate motion? Or
You can do them as
together?
one.
Okay, I would like to move to appoint Ashley Puchowski as a full member and Mr. Jim Stevens as the alternate member.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. 7-0, Mr. Lauer. Next, appointment of Peters Township Traffic Impact Fee Committee member.
And I'm going to move to appoint Matt Ross to that position.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. 7-0, Mr. Lauer. Next, appointments to the Peters Township Youth Commission.
Going to move to appoint Kelsey Barrow and David Sonnet to those positions.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. 7-0, Mr. Lauer. Next, appointment of Peters Township Library Board members.
I would like to move to appoint Priscilla Argentine, Matthew Sicanolfi, and Nigel Wright to those positions.
And which of those three would be serving the 2-year term?
Priscilla.
Yeah, this is Argentine.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. 7-0, Mr. Lauer. Before we continue, I just want to say, as always, I think we were all impressed with the pool of applicants that we had for these board positions. It never ceases to amaze me the number of qualified people that always come forward and answer the bell when we ask for resumes. So to those who didn't get appointed, it wasn't because you weren't qualified. We just can't appoint everybody. So we will certainly keep your names on file for when vacancies open up in the future. Next, award of a contract for the purchase of a police vehicle through the CoStarz Cooperative Purchasing Program.
So the 2026 budget includes an appropriation of $275,000 to acquire 3 vehicles for the police department. Chief Glover is currently proposing the purchase of 2 of those vehicles. The 3rd vehicle will be purchased later this year. The purchases are being completed under the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania's Cooperative Purchasing Program, which is known as CoStarz. Under that program, the state sets minimum discounts for the purchases. The price for the 2026 Chevy Tahoe police vehicle is $58,600. Upon delivery, these vehicles will require upfitting, including light bars, emergency equipment, and radios, for an additional cost of $26,300. So the total cost per vehicle will be $84,900, or a total of $169,800. The thing that you should take note of is that these are being purchased out of the Equitable Share Fund, which accounts for money received from the township as a result of the township's participation in the U.S. Food and Drug Administration's task force. So just for the sake of the new members, one of our officers participates in that task force. There was a forfeiture as a result of a drug arrest, which resulted in the township receiving over $3 million. And so these purchases are coming out of that funds, as opposed to where normally vehicles would be being purchased out of is the township's general fund with tax dollars. So
What would be the remaining balance of that once this is
I
purchased?
don't know it off the top of my head. It's one of the things that I have reminded council about, and I think is important to keep in mind, is that when this money runs out, and it will run out either next year or maybe in '28, that some of these expenditures are going back into the general fund. So like, we never purchased Tahoes before. This is something we've been doing since this money's been available to us. It might make sense to go back to a less expensive vehicle when you're using tax dollars to be able to do that. You may outfit them slightly different than what you're outfitting them now when you're actually expending tax dollars.
We'll see.
Well, if we have to
Yeah.
go from steak back to hamburger, we'll cross that bridge when we get there, right?
We have 1.8.
Here you go.
1.8.
It was only 3 million, I thought it was.
I thought it was
higher than
7.
3 million.
It's,
It was 3.7.
yeah.
I knew there was a 7. I wish it was the other way. I was right, you
Better,
were
huh?
wrong, but, you know.
We still got 1.8, so we had a few more Tahoes in there, I suppose, so.
So I'll make a motion.
Good.
That Peters Township Council awards contract under CoStarz program for the purchase of 2 2026 Chevrolet Tahoe police vehicles for use by the Peters Township Police Department to Laurel Auto Group in the amount of $169,800.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. 7-0, Mr. Lauer. Next item, award of a contract for the purchase of outdoor furniture and shade structures through the CoStarz Cooperative Purchasing Program.
So one of the things that we learned in the short period of time that the Aqua Park was open last year is that shade is a premium on the splash pad. What we'd like to do is to be able to acquire a structure like this. It would be placed in the vicinity of the small splash pad where the youngest children play. The other thing that's being requested is that snake-like seating that you see up there that was intended to provide separation between the area for the older kids and the toddlers. We'd like to be able to expand that so that it creates a better barrier between those two as kids run back and forth between those. This is being paid for through a grant that we received from Washington County, and they'll reimburse the entire cost. The total cost of the project is $60,206.40.
Paul, did we ever get reimbursed for the splash pad from the state?
We've got reimbursed from DCNR. We have received that money for the $2 million. We're still working on that. In fact, today we just got notice that the state is finally paying an invoice that was submitted to them in May for $178,000. There's a couple pieces of paperwork they need from us that we're trying to get from the contractor to receive the remaining money.
So they didn't make it easy when you get the money.
Oh, this has been the most difficult grant to administer that we have ever seen. And what's interesting, when we talk to the managers from neighboring communities who have received this same money, all of them have had the same problem. It is just incredible.
Did the budget impact that, I'm guessing?
No, this is the way the program is being administered. The Office of the Budget is the one who actually gives the grant, but they hire a consultant then to administer it. And so it's made it so difficult to have conversations about what needs to be done to be able to release those funds. And like I said, we've been at this now, well, the last invoice went in when the splash pad opened, and we've been at it this whole time. We think, correct me if I'm wrong, Kyle, we think we're down to just a couple certifications that they need, that we need to get off of one of the subcontractors that worked on the project. But we've never seen anything quite like this. I can tell you this, if you had another grant for a couple $1 million, I would do this again. I would never do this grant if you were just talking about a few $100,000, because this has consumed way too much time, way too much time.
I would suggest that whoever provided this photograph show one that actually provides shade.
No, you know what?
'Cause it just
I
shows
hesitated to put that picture in there because the shades in the back, and actually one of the things that we asked, where it's going to go in is along that fence. And if you look at our shade structures there, you can see how they're casting a shade into the site. We think, given the orientation, that it's going to cast shade into the site as opposed to that which
thought put into placement is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Or we got lucky.
yeah.
I'll make a motion that Peters Township Council awards the contract under the CoStarz program for the purchase, oops, wrong one. Sorry.
Aye.
Award a contract to Yoga Playgrounds.
No, it's under the co-stars program.
Yeah.
Right.
And outdoor fitness in the amount of $60,206.40 under the CoStarz Cooperative Purchasing Program for purchase of an outdoor furniture and a shade structure.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. 7-0, Mr. Lauer. Next item, authorization of the appropriate township officials to sign a co-applicant agreement and a highway occupancy permit application for the Courtyards at Valley Brook plan.
So this is the townhouse plan along Valley Brook Road. One of the things that PennDOT requires is that anytime a storm sewer is being connected onto one of their pipes, that the township be the applicant for a highway occupancy permit and assume responsibility for the maintenance of the storm sewers that are being attached. The other thing that PennDOT recommends and what we follow is that we enter into an agreement with the developer that's transferable to the homeowners association, because these are private storm sewers, not public storm sewers, and that they assume responsibility for the maintenance of those storm sewers in perpetuity. What's circled are the 4 locations where there'll be connections onto the storm sewers on Valley Brook Road. In addition, one of the things, and I don't know whether this was by design or by chance, there is a structure at the end of each of those storm sewers that will delineate where the private pipe begins and the storm sewer is maintained by PennDOT end. So it's my recommendation that council authorize the appropriate township official to execute a storm sewer maintenance agreement with Valley Brook Properties. And upon execution of the storm sewer maintenance agreement, the appropriate township official be authorized to sign and submit a PennDOT highway occupancy permit application.
Is that going to be a private road?
Yes.
And
It's not only going to be a private road, but the thing that council made clear was that, and the plan makes note of that, is that it can never be a public street. There's not sufficient right-of-way in there to be able to do that.
That's what I was interested in. I'll make a motion that we authorize the appropriate township officials to execute the storm sewer maintenance agreement with Valley Brook Properties LLC, and upon execution of the agreement, the appropriate township officials are authorized to sign and submit the PennDOT highway occupancy permit application.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. 7-0, Mr. Lauer. Next item, resolution amending the Peters Township Act 537 sewage facility plan to provide access to sewage services for the Manx subdivision number 1.
So, before council tonight is an amendment to the Act 537 plan to provide sanitary sewer service to the Manx Subdivision 1. The Manx Subdivision 1 is located at 446 McCombs Road. The 29-acre parcel that is bordered by McCombs Road and adjacent to the Timberlake development was subdivided into 5 lots on June 9th, 2025. If you'll recollect, there was a Manx subdivision plan number 2, so you'll have another amendment coming back to you for the sewage facility plan for that subdivision. But what this does is allow sanitary sewers to be on the 5 lots that were created by Manx number 1. There's a group of public agencies that are required to approve this. They're all listed in the maintenance report. And it's my recommendation that council adopt resolution 1626 amending the Peters Township Act 537 sewage facility plan to provide sewage service for the Manx plan number 1.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. 7-0, Mr. Lauer. Payroll and bills. While we're still waiting for Ms. Shanafeld's check stamp to get manufactured, I reviewed the payroll and bills, find them to be in order. I move they be approved as submitted.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. 7-0, Mr. Lauer. Anything we need to discuss regarding correspondence?
The only thing that I think is worth noting is that the letter, and this refers to Kinnetsburg Dam number 1. That's the dam owned by,
Water dam, right?
yes.
They're running the corner.
Yeah, and so, that's used to irrigate the golf course. And that's its sole purpose. They are faced with the same thing we're faced with, is having to modify the dam to meet DEP requirements, and they're going to do that by lowering that lake by 5 feet. So there's going to be a substantial change in what that looks like in that area. So I just thought you should know that.
Thank you. Anybody want to discuss any of the various committee or board reports?
Did we ever progress with a e-bike proposed ordinance that we discussed?
We adopted that
We
ordinance.
did.
Yes. But you know, the problem with the e-bike ordinance is it is so difficult to enforce. Those vehicles are so quick and they're so maneuverable. It's very difficult for the police to be able to issue a citation to somebody who's riding on them.
So the comments, even in this weather, of the speeders continue. I can't imagine what they're doing with the snow right now. They're probably having a hell of a time.
Probably have chains on their.
Probably trying to see if they can jump piles. All right, move on to miscellaneous, construction work on Sunday. Mr. Brown, you want to come forward since?
I'm gonna send the hammer.
Good evening.
No, I told him I'll go, make it short and sweet. Diane DeChickus on Druid Drive. Excuse me. So for about 3 years now, we've had construction going on with the Lutz Farm development right behind on Thomas Road. And it started with heavy construction. They brought tonnage of soil in to build up so that they put the homes. And it's been a while. A lot of complaints. There's about 6 homes, 5 or 6 that have really been affected. And a lot of phone calls have come in complaining about after-hours work, working on Sunday, and other things. And listening to the neighbors and the phone calls and all the different contacts started me thinking about the ordinances that are involved. And I talked to some construction companies in the area to get an idea of what they're responsible for. I talked to Mascaro, Dick Company. I talked to supervisors, project managers, lead estimators, and assistants to talk to Douglas, or one of the Dick assistants. But the idea is they all know, they're used to working in townships and in boroughs and smaller areas, and there are ordinances involved. And when they don't follow these ordinances, there are fines. So the larger companies know that if anything violates an ordinance, they're going to be paying money. And this all settles down. I even talked to a sub that said, you know, there are time limits, there are noise, there are usually, like we have, there's a Monday through Saturday, 7 a.m. to 7 a.m. If they abuse that, if they don't follow it, even the subs can be held responsible. So with all the calls coming into people up here, it seemed to be a hodgepodge and no one really knew what to do. And they were telling us to call the police, call 911, which, number one, you don't really want to bother a policeman to go up to talk to a guy that's working on a roof. That's not really an emergency situation. And then, number two, he gets a ticket. Well, it's not his fault. You know, he was told by his boss to go to a job site, so he shouldn't be punished. So we're wondering if there's anyone that here actually gets involved with either the developer, the contractor, the people that are in charge of the job, and remind them of the ordinances that they're breaking and what your process is here.
If I can. When a building permit is issued, one of the stipulations on the building permit is the hours of operation. So it is appropriate to call the police, particularly when it is during periods when it's not our normal business hours. You know, between 8:30 and 4:30 every day, there are people in this building, but on Sunday there are not. And so, like with regard to the last call, it was on Sunday, and the only person that can be cited is the person who's actually doing the work. And it's important that that call come in when that work is occurring, because what can't be done is to cite people based upon others' observations. So when people call us because there's work that occurs on Sunday and they call us on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, the best we can do, and we do all the time, is to correct that behavior by having a discussion with the contractor. But the only way to be able to cite people and find them is to actually make the call to 911. It's appropriate to do. It's a violation of township ordinance. Part of the responsibility of the police department is to enforce the township's ordinance. They do that on other
Okay, so
things.
911's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, one of the things that's a misconception about 911 in Washington County is it's not just an emergency number. It's the way you get a hold of the police at any time when you need an officer. So, like, for instance, if you're in our parking lot and you go over and hit that box over there because you need an officer to talk to about something, that's a 911 call. And it's just simply a communication method for the police department. The one thing that I will say is that after the last incident, I had a discussion with Chief Glover because police officers have complete discretion when it comes to issuing citations or not issuing citations based upon what they see in front of them. And one of the things that I expressed to Chief Glover is that everyone who gets a building permit is on notice about our working hours. And there should never be any hesitation on the part of an officer to say, to not issue that citation because the contractor hasn't been informed, because he has been.
Okay.
So that's, going forward, Chief Glover has guaranteed me that he has talked to his guys, and when a call comes in for working on Sunday, a citation will be issued.
So what I'm having trouble with, though, I mean, you give a ticket to a guy working on a roof, or you give a ticket to a truck that, and it persists. And I don't know, I feel like when I talk to these people at the other companies, to them, they were getting fined, and that made them adhere to the ordinances.
And that's the fine they're getting. They're getting cited for a violation of the ordinance. So if you were to call in during the week, if somebody was doing something that violated our policies and the code enforcement officer would go out, the way they would be fined is that they would be issued a citation, and if they chose not to pay that, they would be down at the magistrate.
Well, I think she's saying that the contractors
Yeah.
that you talked
Yeah.
to were getting directly fined.
She
Yeah.
wants the applicant fined, the general, the
I don't
developer.
like the guy with
It's the
the
only way
hammer
to
on the
change
roof.
behavior.
I'm sure he's gonna pass it along.
That's
Yeah.
chargebacks. It's
Because it
standard
happens.
Somebody's
contract.
paying it. I mean,
Yeah.
But that's the way you get, I don't know who got this, if it was Mr. Taylor, if Hartland's taking it over.
Yep.
But hopefully Mr. Bosley is
Yeah.
interacting.
Well, the roofer was a subcontractor working for NVR, and so that's who got
But I feel
citation.
that's a flawed process. And I had talked to John about that. Do we have a way under current ordinance? Because when you issued the permit, he's responsible. When he hires his subs, it's in every standard contract that you are to comply with the ordinances of the township. And if we receive fines, it's charged back to you. Can we go back on that Sunday situation? Because it actually generated a police report. After all these calls, thank Mr. Gromack, we only had 3 police reports at all these calls. I don't know if Mr. Bosley documented everything. Then the next step was the police officer is asking me about previous behaviors and violations. So if the police officer got a call about Diane waving a gun at 123 Druid, does it pop up on their system that there have been previous violations at 123 Druid?
They can check, they can call back to the 911.
Yeah,
Because the
but
last
I don't know that
officers
they would
asked
know
me-
that for a violation of the.
Well, they don't know
like
what
this
it is,
nature.
but they'll see like an ordinance violation.
But the last 2 officers asked me if it's a big ongoing behavior. I don't feel that's my responsibility. I was happy to provide it.
And
We
Tony,
talked.
based upon our conversation, that led to my conversation with Chief Glover, saying that that's inappropriate and they are on notice and they need to comply.
Yeah, and Officer Klein did a great job because he was the first one that actually cited somebody, but I talked to the municipality and it's gonna be like, and you saw the names there and you saw the communication problem. a parking ticket to Mr. Nez is not gonna alter behavior. I'm wondering if, based on that report, if Mr. Smith can now go to whoever the permit holder is and find him, and they should be escalating. Otherwise, behaviors will not
Yeah, they
alter.
just don't seem
Well,
to
we
care.
we can't just find somebody. As Paul pointed out, the sub on site is gonna get the fine likely because there's a witness to violation of the rules. What we have as a township is you have to follow our building permit or you lose the permit. So ultimately, we're the arbiter of that. But I think what might happen or what should happen, I don't know, I'd have to talk to Mr. Bosley, is once the township is made aware of a sub violating that kind of rule, do we follow up to the developer and say, hey, one of your subs is violating your permit, and just putting on notice, you know, of
And
where this is.
ramifications.
Yeah.
So when she talked to Dick Building Group and so forth, they're the ones getting the fines and they push it down. Is there any way to alter our ordinance?
Well,
That
and the
whoever
fines are,
permit holder is?
and Tony, usually the fines are fairly small, especially at the magistrate, it's 500 or less. So it may be, you know, worth it to have somebody out there finishing roofs for $500 fine versus making sure the developer is on notice that we're gonna enforce our building permit obligations. That usually gets a greater response than the fine.
So at what point would we pull the permit? Has that been done?
I don't think
Under what
you've had,
circumstance?
No, it has to be pretty egregious.
yeah, I was gonna say, it would have to be fairly egregious before you could do that.
Did you talk to Mr. Bosley and see if he, about the reports that the neighbors had given to him? Because they were told to call him.
Well, and when I talked to Mr. Bosley about that, he has received less than a handful of calls.
Okay. So he doesn't have much of a database. I'm wondering if there's a database of 911 calls, because I know how many times I called. I wonder if there's a database of things that within this township have received calls for continuing behavior to give you the reason to go back and alter behavior. I don't see that. I got 3 police reports. One truck woke everybody in the neighborhood up at 12:15. The officer wrote the report, I appreciated it, but it was reasonable because that guy had to get up early the next morning and drive to Ohio.
And
And
Tony,
like Officer Klein said, oh, well, sorry for him, he violated the ordinance and woke everybody up.
and he should have been cited and the work should have stopped. That's, I think, quite honestly, the officer used his discretion, but I wouldn't agree with his analysis. It's a
Yeah,
clear
there's only
violation.
3
and-
reports generated,
Yeah.
and 2 of them just said, oh, well, there was extenuating hey, I agree. The concrete truck could break down at 6:45. He's not gonna be off site at 7, the tower's gotta come out. I'm sure we can accommodate for an extenuating circumstance. I am just worried that if we don't have compliance with penalty, there's no reason for anybody to really follow this, you know? And I'm trying to get it set up, and me and Mr. Smith talked about this. There's ordinances, but now we have conditions. So I appreciated the 13 conditions on the cell tower, but I don't think there's any teeth there. So if they block the street on the Druid Hill and I call in, can you just stop work? I mean,
Yes.
what do we do
I think that their permit is in jeopardy.
with the township? So you could stop work like you did when the tower first showed up,
Yep.
until we clarify.
Yep.
Yeah, I want that exercise. I appreciate it. Thank you all.
Thank you. So just a question. So back to the permit piece of that. So we can put them on notice and say, you're in jeopardy. If it goes so very far, it's egregious, we can pull the permit. Is there anything in between putting on notice and pulling the permit?
Well, a couple things. Remember too, oftentimes the developer is probably not dictating go work on Sunday. It's a sub not meeting a deadline and running out to go get it done. So I think at the very least, the developer is put on notice so that they can lean on their sub to say, don't do this, you're jeopardizing us.
But just to be clear, it's not the developer out there with the roof. This is now the contractor who's constructing the house. The developer will have nothing to do with the construction of the house. So it's who you've issued the building permit to.
Which is the
Now, when they were delivering
The
material.
the builder. So the developer and the builder are different, but the builders ultimately adhere probably NVR if it's.
There's
either TED or NVR.
Yeah, I think these are all NVR and that's
Yeah,
not
so that's, but again, NVR may not be aware that their subs running out there Sunday trying to finish up a job to meet their contract.
But that's the point.
Well, no, and I think, and I'm just saying that
We're doing this wrong. If
the
we're
builder
not
needs to be
getting
put
that-
on notice at least to police their subs.
I would
That's the
agree.
first
It's
step.
in their contracts to their subs.
Right,
They
but-
have to abide by the ordinance, and it's gonna get pushed back on them. I think we gotta find a way to be citing the permit holders. They are responsible for their subs. They sign contracts with their subs. Can we find a way to do that?
Well, I mean, again, it's hard because they're all responsible under our permit. And I think that's the question raised as to what's the in-between, because we don't want to go and pull the permits on anybody for that kind of stuff. It's just, I think it is a matter where you pointed out, Tony, about how long and how often does this go on? We're faced with the reality of we need to do something more drastic.
Well, the reality is, I think that, in talking to my neighbors, they videoed it, and the one guy laid it out very succinctly. And I can give you the address. If you guys want to talk to them, you want them to call Mr. Buzzard, they videotaped it. One guy said, I'm videotaping this again. He woke my kids up on Sunday 3 different times. And he eventually said, and this is not where you want your citizens to be. He eventually said, why am I doing this? I am wasting my time because nobody's done anything when I complained before. That's not where we want to be. I just think that we ought to be going to the developers, cite that guy, there's your evidence, it happened, we have a police report, and then you go back to Ted Taylor or whoever. This is under your auspices.
But, you know, you should have him give me a call, Tony, because, again, if it's a violation that's occurring because of work on Sunday, or it's occurring in a period of time when we're not here in the middle of the night, he needs to understand to call 911.
So,
We'll just tell them I'll call 911.
so if it's during work hours when you're here.
He should call in here, and it's a code violation. He should be talking to Paul Bosley.
Paul Bosley?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, that's what, yeah, my neighbor can identify him.
Okay.
That's what he said. He said 3
Okay.
conversations with him.
I want to reinforce, though, eventually, even if they're small offenses, if they're ignoring everything, eventually it becomes, right, it no longer the incident itself, but them
Yes.
not listening to
Right.
the authority of
That's-
the
And
municipality.
then we issue stop work orders.
And I wouldn't be so, maybe I shouldn't say this, I wouldn't be so confident that they get all their flow downs to their subs because my house was built by NVR and there's not a straight or flat floor in that entire house. If you want to come and look at my tile floor that I just had to put in, you can see it very obviously.
Who has the power to stop work in this township?
The building inspector does.
Code official.
And you could do it too, right?
No, actually, it's the building inspector. It's not the
It's
manager.
on the permit.
Yeah.
It's on the permit.
Batman.
Thank you, guys.
All right, next item is garbage liens.
I just wanted to bring to your attention, Jordan Service has provided you a list of the liens. Currently, the face value of the liens is $155,779. One of the things that Jordan has been doing is beginning executing on liens as a way to get them paid, so,
These
And
are
they
all
should.
our neighbors, right?
yes,
207 at the end.
yes,
Can I ask you a question about Jordan?
yes.
Can you, is it possible for you to empower them that if they get a check from any of us that don't type, they miss the amount by $2, they go ahead and cash it? And
If it's-
tell me that I owe them $2.
Yeah, but if it's-
Instead
but
of
if
me
it's-
finding out
but if
the
it-
Washington financial lever-
Yeah, but if it's for property tax, they can't.
It has
Because
to be exact.
they have to be exact if it's for property tax.
All right. Is there anything anybody wants to see on the next agenda? We have an executive session?
Nope.
All right, we are adjourned.